There we go. Hello and welcome back to the Astro Imaging Channel. Tonight's session, we've got some shared data on our website, theastroimagingchannel.com. In fact, if you're watching this, it's right here, right above us, right here. If you're watching on our website, if you're watching on YouTube, pop over to our website so you can, download that stuff right there. But also get involved in the chat, which basically is what keeps us going and what keeps these sessions kind of popping, so that we've always got stuff going on and questions coming in and comments and whatnot, because this is one of those sessions that's really going to rely on a lot of questions and comments. But I do, if you want to take part in this, download that data, because you can either follow along or maybe just share your screen so we can see what you're doing. I'll process it. The reason I'm doing this is because when was it? One of the last sessions I did, I basically just did a walkthrough of processing data, and I probably got more emails on that particular session and more comments. Just, wow, that's cool. Just seeing you walk through the data was pretty cool. So I decided to do more processing in the next few sessions. So
Adam, where's that data? I was just looking for it.
Go to theastroimagingchannel.com and hold on, let me see if I can help you guys find it. I am going to share my screen and quickly pop over here. I go to our homepage right here. Pause that before it makes the noise. And share data right here. Do you see my cursor? Hopefully you do. Share data right there to the left above the thing. It's not so obvious now that I look at it, but it is what it is. While you're downloading that, I'm going to click over and show off our image of the week. This week's image of the week, the Pelican Nebula by Sean Maloney. I just really like the way this one looked. Of course, nice variation in colors because of the distribution of H alpha and O3. Just a really cool field. Definitely, as you're checking out our as you're downloading that data, click over to the image of the week and check this one out, because it's nice to look at. At the same time, you could always submit. Love to see those images come in. That said, let me think about this. Am I safe to? Yes, I am. Close that window right out. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Let me see. I'm always afraid I'm going to lose you guys. Click the wrong window and lose you guys and never return. Okay, so kind of with this session, I kind of said tongue-in-cheek, embrace the rabbit hole. I'm a little bit afraid because I don't know what's going to happen when I just jump right in. I've processed all this data before, and actually I'm going to do some talking while I switch over. Let's see. I've got a few different images here. I had shared the M51, which is a data that I acquired actually a while ago. It was one of the first images I took with my CCD camera after I got it. And it turned out really well, but I had always thought that I could push it a little bit harder. I have luminance, H alpha, excuse me, I have luminance, I have R, G, and B. And at some point I shot H alpha for it, but for some reason I can't find it, and I'm a little bit disappointed. But maybe I'll take another look in a little bit. So I had processed this a while back. One big issue that you'll see, it looks great right here, but boom, I backed out and my framing was off between a bunch of the subs. So because my framing was off, each image has to be cropped. I'm losing a lot of that outer portion of the frame on each sub, but I guess it's forcing me to increase the image scale. So if I can really work on this one, then hopefully it'll look that much better. I did rename. Oh, and I had this from before. I just want to get rid of that. What did I just do? Thought I closed that out. Cancel it. I want to get rid of that. There we go. And I'm going to be tempted to do this. So if you've downloaded what was the data acquired with? Good question. Let me think about this. I am almost certain that this one was acquired with my Edge HD 800 and let me think about this one. I do not remember whether this was reduced. I think that
Adam, can you pull down the FITS header and confirm all that? Just open the FITS header. That information should be there, right?
I don't know because
is this a stack?
Yeah, let's see. Where is FITS header? Let's see.
Here's a little bit of side note information. If you do manual integration, none of the FITS header gets transferred over to the master. But if you use the batch processing, pre-processing script, all that information gets transferred to the master file.
And I do not see anything in here, so I don't believe any of it came across, unfortunately. I'm almost certain it's the Edge HD 800, and it's long enough ago that I actually don't think the focal reducer existed at the time. So I'm pretty sure I did it unreduced, which is why I got that image scale, pretty decent image scale for that. So at focal length of what, 2032, I believe. Okay, how many subs? That I can tell you. I am going to say it's most likely 300-second subs, but let's see here.
Also, that offset that you were talking about, is there on every color channel? Did you take two separate sets of data, like complete sets of data, and that's why the offset's the same on each one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran through like basically my script, which the first night would be like RGB, 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 and the second night the same. If I shoot all my R one night and then all my G or B the next night, particularly with the Edge as I had it configured this way, I would get a little bit of the stars. How do I want to say this? The color channels might not perfectly align because I think just because I was shooting it in different parts of the sky and the camera was so heavy. I'm not quite exactly sure what caused it, but I was always better off this way. So let's see here.
Here's another tip for if that ever happens again. If you use the large-scale pixel rejection during image integration, and if you have enough subs, you know, let's say you have 10 of each. You have 10 subs here and 10 subs there, total 20. If you use the large-scale pixel rejection, it will even those out.
Adam, what's the focal length and pixel size for 4565?
That would most likely be the same. Let me see here. This one, 2014. Yeah, so that's before the focal reducer existed. So the M51 is not using a focal reducer, and then 4565. Let's see, 4565. Was it 4565? Let me go to my Google Drive and figure it out.
Yeah, 4565.
Because I don't see it now, but let's see here. Oh, this is recent. This was probably with my RC. So this would have been with my RC at roughly 1,500 millimeters reduced. I think f6-ish.
And were those 6 micron pixels?
5.4, I believe.
5.4. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So I already have my identifiers changed, so I can kind of go through this quickly. What I do want to do is I'm going to try and process the RGB channel and see how that goes. Then I'm going to process the luminance, and I'm going to see if the luminance helps or not. That'll basically be kind of this particular exercise. That'll be the rabbit hole we're jumping through. We're jumping into right now. But in the meantime, you're going to see a little bit of the PixInsight process if you don't know it. So RGB, my identifiers right here were changed. I usually do that just to keep it easy. It gets a little more confusing when I have tons of workspaces open. But
so I haven't figured out how to change the identifiers yet. How do you do that?
Just click right there, identifier.
Okay.
New identifier, and then type it in there.
Ah, right. Okay.
So basically B, identifier, going to change it to the same thing, B, click OK, boom. Then channel combination, so what that does is it lets me go RGB. The old-fashioned way is to go in and select them this way. But since I did change those identifiers to be so simple and stupid that I don't really have to think about it that much, I just click it like that, apply, spits out my RGB image. I have my screen transfer function up here. It's going to give me my crazy color. Oops, gotta click it. I'm going to auto stretch. It's going to give me my crazy color because my channels are still linked. So I'm going to unlink the channels, then click it again. And it shows me closer to what I should see color-wise. What I am going to do is I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to put it aside. Still linear with this. I am going to, let me think. First step, I actually, because I have such a large overlap there and I can't do DBE with that way. I did see that question pop up. No, I cannot DBE my way out of this. This is just too dramatic, too much of an issue. I have to crop my way out of it. You all know me. I do not like to crop early on in the process because I'm always afraid of messing up my registration or alignment, so to speak. But I'm going to because but I have to here. So I'm going to use the dynamic crop process. Did I don't think, did I click the tool? Yes, I did. I clicked the tool. I'm going to be a little bit generous with the crop. I know it's not centered perfectly, but I really just need, I need some space to work with. I will crop it down further as the very, very last step. But once I've got that crop set in there, I can save the crop off to here so that when I do finally apply it to my luminance, I've got it saved. But here, got my RGB right here. I'm going to apply that crop to the RGB. Got it. All my
Adam,
yes?
Can I interrupt you? One technique that you might find useful is to make register them all together. They're already registered anyway. And then go ahead and make an LRGB combine. And then crop the LRGB combined. Well, draw the crop on the LRGB combined, but apply it to each of the 4 subs before you start any combining at all. Does that make sense to you? So you make an LRGB combination, and you stretch it out so you can see where the problems might be. And then you take your dynamic crop and you make a crop on the LRGB combination. But you actually apply it then, dragging the little triangle down there, into each of the 4 subframes.
Into each of the individual frames.
Yes, into each of the individual frames. And from that point on, they're already cropped to where they belong.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I'm actually not sure now why this isn't working. I don't know if it's because I've changed the color space, but what you are suggesting would actually be more effective. And I might have to go ahead and do it that way because this isn't working. So basically, let me try that. I'm going to close that right out. I don't know why this isn't working. Where did they go? Where did all of my frames go? I know I hid them back here somewhere, right? I didn't close them. Okay, let me start over.
None of us ever start over. Are you the only? You're the only processor that ever starts over. I'll bet you, huh? Is that true?
I don't know what went wrong there, but I don't feel right about continuing it without. What the heck? Come on. I want to delete that. Okay, let's go back here. This truly is the rabbit hole, right? This is what I was talking about when you totally get stuck and basically have a somewhat useless presentation. But let's see here. All right. All right, so what Alex is talking about, first step, dynamic crop. Since all of my...
No, first step is LRGB combination.
Oh, okay.
Leave them all there and then just okay.
Changing my identifiers.
It's like doing public math. Things are always gonna go wrong, right?
I feel like this is how my day has been going all day long too. Nothing's ever. But either way, that's not for here. There. Let's see. Channel combination, RGB already in there. So boom, got them combined.
And yeah, okay, go ahead.
Dynamic crop.
Adam, this isn't what I was suggesting.
Oh, no?
No, I was doing an LRGB combination, not out of the RGB combination, channel combination, but there's another tool. There's another tool that allows you to make an LRGB combination.
Yeah, it's just called LRGB combination.
Yeah.
That's how I combine my RGB channels usually.
Yeah, and then just fill them up and. Okay.
All right.
Now do a screen stretch and a dynamic crop. Yeah, leave that there because you're going to want that again in a minute. Okay. Now draw your dynamic crop on your LRGB combo. Okay, now drag that onto all the other subs.
Okay. There we go.
Now go back to your LRGB combination and reopen it. That one. And do it again.
Okay. I see what you're doing, yeah.
Okay, that way you don't have to worry about remembering to bring the crop back over again later and make sure it matches.
Yep.
Mic off.
interesting here. Now I'm looking at it. Well, I've got them all aligned. I actually don't use the LRGB combination tool so frequently, and
It was just here for you to get the cropping done.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
suggesting you process it from this point on. It was
Gotcha.
just a tool. You don't need it for anything anymore.
Gotcha. So I'm going to put that away, and I'm going to go to my typical RGB or channel combination.
Adam,
With the
you can also save that cropping as a specification by dragging the little triangle onto the desktop.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
usually do.
and that's
right
what he was
there.
doing in the first place.
Oh, sorry. So I didn't see that on the end here. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's actually my typical method. So I was a little confused, but now I see what Alex was doing.
See, I would never remember to go back and and I'd have lost that little thing by the time I got around to working my luminance.
Okay, so got the channels combined. Pretty ugly odd gradient in there. Gonna require me to taking a look. Gonna require me to DBE, dynamic background extraction. But of course, dynamic crop is open. Got to cancel that. Then go to DBE. Not many stars in the field. I can see the gradient. It's dark in the edges, too light in the center. I do have some actual nebulosity in the galaxy right here that I want to avoid. But as always, like as long as I know what I'm doing, I can just kind of throw down some points wherever I feel safe. It's not a ridiculously complex gradient. Very simple, not paying much attention, just not hitting stars. Wouldn't really matter if I hit stars. But a point with a star in it is a bad sample. So it just adds kind of useless information to it. I'm concerned of some real nebulosity up there. Do want to make sure that it can see exactly how the light falls off into the edges. So I don't mind putting a bunch of extra points all over the place. Let's see here. Before I apply anything, let's see what it thinks the gradient looks like. So this is still linear, so I'm going to stretch this. What am I looking for? What do I think I'm going to see? Well, I want to see light in the middle, dark on the edges, but not anything that looks like the galaxy or the nebulosity. So if the light in the middle has the shape of the galaxy, I've done something wrong. If it's brighter right here, I've done something wrong. I basically just want a nice, almost reverse vignetting type look. And I got it, right? Looks pretty good. Even getting some color in there, some greens that are showing up here. There's a little bit of red down here in the kind of color gradient. That seems to have worked. Let's see what happens when well, first I'm just going to get rid of that because that was just there so I could see it. I'm going to discard it this time around and apply it. It's going to create a new image for me. And looking at that, it looks pretty darn good. I am going to grab back my screen transfer function tool because what I really need to do to see how it handled that gradient, I'm going to link the channels. Well, first of all, yeah, I already had the auto stretch on it. Link the channels so that I can pull down on the brightness and just see where the light's falling off. It's pretty good. So the light's falling off evenly. I'm still linear, so I can control some of the stretching with kind of controlled stretching and curves later on in the process. But I do like the way that that has shown up. Because what I really want to do here is compare the quality of the synthetic luminance that this is going to create to the actual luminance that I shot. I am going to use, while it's still linear channel extraction just to pull it out. Let's see here. Channel extraction, LAV mode. Get rid of those. Pull that out. So that's what the synthetic luminance is going to look like. Let me see here. Where's my real luminance? Right here. This luminance still needs some gradient or vignetting, or I shouldn't say that. Still needs DBE, I should say, because I don't.
Okay, hang on a minute. John was asking why you used subtraction instead of division back there on your dynamic background extraction.
Okay, so most of the time I'm going to use subtraction. Division you would use for getting rid of something something wrong in the optical system. Division you would divide a flat ultimately, optimally, because you actually want to distribute the lightness levels across the field, or kind of normalize them by distributing them across the field. Whereas subtraction you use when you're removing light gradients. And I know just from experience and based on my location, what I'm seeing in there is basically light pollution, or the gradient caused by light pollution. So division for flats, for light pollution, use subtraction. And with DBE, if you're using division, it probably means you've already gotten something wrong in the process earlier on. So it might be better to go back and reshoot flats or work on your calibration, and then go back in and use subtraction just for the light pollution. Best to split those two off. Hoping that makes sense. Anyone in the room is welcome to add or.
Well, the reason I was a little confused was because your explanation just now was that you use division when you're trying to correct optical problems like vignetting. And remember when you were talking earlier, you were saying, I want this thing to look like vignetting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was thinking you were subtracting vignetting, and I would usually divide vignetting.
Yes, that's actually a good point. And it was almost me misspeaking. It looks like vignetting, but it wasn't really vignetting. It wasn't an issue with my optical system. My assumption is that I properly flat calibrated these. Yeah, Alex got me there, because if it's truly vignetting, it is probably coming from the optical system, and you would probably want to divide that. That said, hopefully you're taking flats, and hopefully after you apply the flats or calibrate the image, you're not seeing it. And anything that's left, even if it looks like vignetting, is not inadequate flat calibration. It is just some other. It's from some other source that is not inherent in the optical system. It's actually up in the sky. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. Put my things down. I just want to see what the background looks like. What the heck? Oh, okay. I know what I did there. Is it completely rejecting those? Just want to see what happens. Okay. Got that DBE'd. I have to take this and get a little darker. So obviously they're not exactly the same. Oops. But if you can see here, it looks to me like the luminance has, the actual luminance instead of the synthetic luminance has much stronger signal, much more stuff to work with. So I would most likely plan on using that. Going to minimize that. That's my synthetic. I'm going to put it aside. Going to try and remember that that right there is what I'm working with. Oops, don't want to close that. Want to minimize that. Close DBE right here. All right, so now I know I have this right here. That is image 58 dBE and L right there. I am going to close off all of my individual subs here because I am expecting not to need them any longer. Have my RGB there. Luminance there. Both are still linear. Let me get rid of channel extraction. Truly the rabbit hole today. You're hearing me try and talk as I go, so we'll see what happens. Let's get back to this. Checking my time. First thing I need to do now. I basically just hit the ground running because I know exactly what I have to do. Color calibration. I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way because I think it'll go a little bit quicker. Background neutralization first. Create a sample of only background sky. Let it know where the sample is. 58 dBE preview 1. Apply that. Go to color calibration. Background reference. Give it the same background reference. It is a galaxy. Lots of stars in the galaxy. I can use that as my white reference. That's preview 2. I do not need structure detection because I'm using the galaxy as the white as a white reference. If I use structure detection, it would be using the stars. But there aren't many stars, so that's probably not the best idea. Galaxy should give me much more useful data in the calibration. Let's go right ahead and apply that. It gave it to me. Channels linked. Oops. Let's see here. Channels linked. That's what it's coming up with. Not bad. It's looking kind of blue when it's linked. I see some noise, some chromatic noise in there, but I'm okay with that. I've got time to work on that. I am not going to work on it linear, though. What I believe I'm going to do, let's see, looking at the time and looking at everything else, what I'm going to do is first I am going to delete those previews because they're getting in my way. Then I'm going to go right over to histogram transformation.
Adam, can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
Make a copy of that. Go through it your way, and let me suggest one more way.
You're going to say mass stretch or no?
Nope.
No? Okay, we'll see. Oh, okay, I think I know what you're going to do, but let me...
You know, just for color and star color and everything, I find that what I'm going to suggest might work a little better.
Let's see here. So I'm going to get this just stretched a little bit, reset. A bit more stretched. So as I stretch, or as I clip the low ends, I'm just looking at the shadows and seeing what I'm clipping here. And it is kind of ugly down there. I'm not quite sure where some of that's coming from. I think it actually might be some of the noise. So let me keep it a little bit darker. Not crazy about the way some of that looks, but I'm basically, what I should be just paying attention to right now is color, because hopefully when I combine later on, hopefully this will all work. All I really need from this is the color. So I might even be looking to saturate this, but let me skip back to the non-synthetic luminance, the actual luminance that I had here. I'm going to go through the same process and stretch this. Yeah, not losing much there. Bit of noise in there, but I think I can take care of that relatively easily. I like the structure in there. If I had a lot more time, what I would be saying to myself is, oh, I should go right back to the linear state or start over on this particular image and possibly do deconvolution to tighten up a lot of the detail just in there. But I don't think I have time for that. In fact, I'm already seeing that I'm coming up a little bit short. So what I am going to do is one more. That. I'm going to dim that. Try and stretch that a bit more. See if I can kind of be happy with that. I'm gonna. I don't need to change that. Let's see. Just as a test, gonna channel combine. Gonna take the, I believe it's LDBE that I want. LDBE. See what happens when I combine it with that frame right there. What kind of detail does it add? How? Okay, adds a lot of detail. Adds a lot of noise. Extends that out. Extends some of that nebulosity out there. But what I do need, I need to get rid of some of that noise in the original image, in the original luminance image. I also need more color in it. I'm going to take that back. I am going to try something over here. I am going to first color saturation, not saturation. Preview it. I think that I can take, I can increase the range on that. I think that I can take the whole thing and boost color saturation on it. I think I overdid it there a little bit, but oh well. Let's see. Get rid of that. I don't know if I overdid it. I kind of like that color. We will see what happens. A lot of chromatic noise in this image, though. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Or maybe, just for the heck of it, maybe I will. Because I think this is all going to come together in a few seconds. I'm going to use ACDNR, basically an older tool. But for chromatic noise, I find it works really well. And I actually just like the way it works. It's simple. it almost always works basically as default for chromatic noise. I almost don't have to touch anything. I'm going to throw it in there. What I'm looking at, it's going to take a little bit of time. Just peeking comments here. Okay, well that finished, so I'm gonna pop back. Let's see here. How did it take care of that chromatic noise? I'll let you guys see. Where I was noticing it right here, you can see that. Here you go. Killed it, right? I mean, huge difference. That's just a noisy, colorful mess, and then boom, all the noise is gone. Let's look at the galaxy here. Didn't lose. I mean, barely lost anything in the galaxy. Just a little bit of color. Now that I look at that though, that kind of bothers me. I don't want to lose that color in the galaxy. Let's see if I could get a quick lightness mask on the galaxy. Got it. There. Let's go back there. Good chrominance, good there. What's going on? Oh, because I have the mask. Duh. There we go. Lightness mask. Got it. So by putting that lightness mask on it, I'm going to preserve a little bit more of the color inside the galaxy and then kill all that chromatic noise on the outside. Don't have to worry about lightness because I am going to take most of the lightness detail from the other image. The other image that I was working on, that looks good. Wow, the only thing that can make that look better is some H-alpha that I am hoping to find, but maybe I won't have time to. We'll see what happens. So I got this right here. Wow, it does look like I boosted that at the outside too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the chroma. It's going to go to lightness. Is the galaxy noisy? The bright spots are not noisy. So I'm going to do lightness mask. I'm going to see what happens. I do not need to reduce noise on the bright spots of the galaxy. I do need to reduce noise on the background there. I can see some speckling in my lightness mask, which will retain noise. I can use that to introduce what I call some just kind of some noise, comfort noise, some noise to kind of keep it looking natural. But I really don't want to. What I want to see is if I could actually smooth that out, see how smooth I can get it. So I remove a lot of that speckled look in the lightness mask in the background. Now I need to pay a little bit closer attention to like this type of area. Oops. Oops. I want to have this get rid of a lot of that speckling. Too much. Yeah, that's a mess. And then sometimes that's what you get out of ACDNR. Sometimes it just gives you an ugly sometimes it just gives you an ugly noise. And what I really want to do is kind of what it just did there. Take out some of that fine noise. Might be, I don't think it can go much smaller than that. Maybe that worked. What I'm gonna do, I might try and hit this in a couple iterations. Yeah, so that is much more natural looking. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it like that. Just get rid of a little bit of that noise. Oh man, yeah. Much better. Then I can probably increase the standard deviation maybe get it up to 1.5, but reduce the amount by a lot. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to that preview and see what happens. Might get a blurry mess out of this, but we'll see. Okay, so I see it killed some larger scale stuff, but I can't really see what it did. Let's push the amount up. Scale might be too large. Just pull it down a little bit. Trying to make it look good to my own eye. Just try that, see what happens. Looks pretty good to me. At this scale, at least. I'm going to put that away. Background, I don't need that. Don't need screen transfer function any longer. Don't need that anymore. Let's see here. What do I want to do? I want to make the background of this darker while preserving the foreground. I am going to, maybe I'll just use curves for that. Curves transformation. Just want to preview it. Let's see, where is the darkness? Where is the mid-tone? So I could see this is dark right here. I definitely want to pull down on that. And I kind of want that to stay up where it is, maybe go a little higher. Maybe a slight S-curve is what I'm looking for. See what happens when we apply it. That might be aggressive. That's very aggressive. Way too aggressive. You can see there. Way too aggressive. Let's pull that way down. Let's push that up a bit. Let's see what happens when we apply that. There we go. Brings out a bit more noise than I'd like. It might... this is one of those things where I could play with... Oops. I could play with... well, let's see here. Get myself a preview like that. Now preview it. Now bring that down. Oh. I might be able to bring it all down. See how that works. I'm going to dim everything, and it's kind of going to balance it a lot better. Yeah. Delete all my previews. I kind of like the way that looks, but let's see what happens. Going to close that curves transformation. Have my color data right there. I'm not so happy with a few things in this. A little bit later for this step, but let's see what happens when I do an SCNR on just the green, 50%. See if I can get rid of some of that background. Yeah. I don't know if you see it around here. There's just some, like an odd green, doesn't look right. Run SCNR and it goes away. Still, I might like to boost the color in that, but let's see what happens. Let's go here, LRGB combination. Oh no, not LRGB combination. Channel combination. LDBE. Is that still my right identifier? Yes, it is. Let's see what happens when I apply that to this image. Turns out pretty good. Wow. I like my star color. I like my galaxy color. I can still see some of kind of that glow around the interacting galaxy. I can see some of the foreground dust right there. What I would probably do is I might go back. There is some ugliness in the background here. That's always been my issue with this image, is the background was never as clean as I'd like to get it. I could potentially go right in. I think the gradient is not terribly difficult. I could try to do a DBE even at this late point. Basically, it looks like I've got not quite complex gradient, just kind of some ugliness in there. Let's see what it would make the model look like. No longer linear. So that's my actual model, but I am going to stretch it just so I can see a better idea. It does show some ugliness in there. It does show dark down here, dark up here. This is where that stuff is. Maybe if I subtract it, it'll make it look better. Did it improve it? Yes, it did. It definitely evened out the background. I don't know if you can see that. Let me close DBE. Here's the new version. Here's the old version. You can see like this stuff up here in the new version. It's still there, but it's muted a bit more. What else would I do to this image? I still like the idea of pulling down a bit on the darkest area, but letting the lighter areas get preserved. I'd love to make the darker areas a bit darker. Don't think it's going to let me get away with that. I think I just killed it. I think I just way overdid it. Yeah. I need that back. There we go. Let's see. Darker gets darker. Lighter gets lighter. Not so aggressive. What happens there? Let's see. Introduce some chromatic noise. Maybe a little bit too much. You know, that's going to be the balance. Trying not to let the noise work its way into the background. Keeping the galaxy looking good. Let me think. I don't know. It looks pretty good to me. I'm not having the best control using curves. See if I can just clip a little bit of that darkness out and get a little bit more brightness in there. Later on in the process, I can take the risk of clipping a little bit more. What I'd actually probably do is keep that and go back in for maybe another final noise reduction step. Let me see if I could work any magic in ACDNR. I'm going to go lightness, small amount. Do want to apply chrominance. Okay with the lightness mask being the same. See if it makes it any better. I'm going to do it right here. Wow. That chrominance noise reduction works like magic. I don't know. ACDNR does awesome job with chrominance noise reduction. Just really easy, quick, and it's gone. The lightness, little bit more difficult, but still does the job. And it's easy to use. Let's get rid of that preview. Delete all. And basically, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with that. I'd love to get some H-alpha blended into there. I might still do that, but I see I'm at 1025 already. These things always go quicker than you're expecting. I could play around with the background noise reduction. What I would love to do, you know, sometimes we're making salty steak here, if anybody remembers that analogy. But I don't know. I still like boosting saturation on some of these things and just kind of seeing what color's in there. Is it the natural look versus the oversaturated salty steak look? I don't know, but I don't know. I kind of like just the way that saturation kicks it up a notch. Okay, so I've seen the final result. Yes, if I could go all the way back through, I would probably do deconvolution on the luminance. I would like to tighten that up a bit. There's good quality data in there. There's a few spots that it could tighten up. Let's see, though, one thing. I always like to see what will happen if I do a dark structure enhanced script on this. Maybe it'll give me some darkness, foreground darkness, particularly in the H alpha lanes in there, the dark lanes in there. We'll see what happens. This particular tool takes a little bit of time, but well worth the time it takes. There we go. Did you give me some dark lanes? Let's see what it changed. Oh, wow. Didn't do what I was hoping for. Yeah, so first of all, a galaxy image is probably not the right image to use on that. I was really just using it to kind of see. Because why? Because all it did was really darken the outside of the galaxy, which is kind of useless. So no, that tool didn't work. But basically, those are my final results. I'll give you a close-up here. Great color, decent luminance. How does it compare to? How does it compare to my last version? M51. That's it, right? How does it compare? It's pretty close. I think I managed to get more out of this one at the expense of a bit more foreground noise. You can see it's noisier. I do have some artifacts over here. Looks like I didn't do nearly as good a job on the background. Okay, so I'm noticing something. I am looking at this image. Wow, a lot more detail in the core, but look at those stars. They're ugly as all heck. I did deconvolution on this, and I did a really bad job. I have residue on the stars. It brought out some noise. I did not, I don't know, I must have not had a good star mask. I must have not had a good luminance mask to apply the decon to. But I have great color, and I got good detail out of the galaxy. So knowing this and seeing this, I would probably go back through, try deconvolution, do it more pointed. Use this exact color because the color is great. But that's basically it. I like a lot of the stuff out of this. That's my walkthrough of this. I see I hit the hour mark. I'm popping back. I'm going to check this out and see if I got any questions. DBE, yeah, subtraction. Okay. How much better does DBE work for ABE? You know, I almost always use DBE. Once you know where the points have to go, it just gives you a lot more control over it. If ABE works, then use it. If you know exactly what you want to do in the image, sometimes just using DBE is going to give you that much more control over it. George, what are we going to do when Google Hangouts goes away? Well, so I've been looking this up. I don't think Google Hangouts as we use it is going away. What I believe is going away are the YouTube, or excuse me, the Google Hangouts app on the like the phones. So in other words, you're no longer going to be using Google Hangouts like you would use Skype or FaceTime or any of those apps. But Google Hangouts is still going to exist in this form where you are doing kind of meetings or cooperative projects like this. I read into it a bit and I was a little bit concerned, but as I read further, the two products they're maintaining seem to be the products that we use, whereas we're not streaming from our phones, so I think we're okay. That is, if I understood the announcement or non-announcement, if I understood it correctly. Yeah, so I see, has anyone been able or seen the M77 supernova? I don't believe that's the one that I saw recently, but best way to capture and process, I'm going to say the same way you always capture and process. The trick is, if you captured M77 previously, you can always just capture a few subs of the supernova and superimpose it right on top. Or you can just reacquire it with the supernova in there if you feel like the first way is cheating.
Yeah, it's not a moving targets. It's just there's going to be an additional star in the image, kind of. That's the way it's going to look when you process it. So there's no special method for it. You would just do it as if you're doing it regularly.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Dylan's pointing out Comet Wirtanen should be a popular target in the next 2 weeks. Have we covered comet stacking before? We have a few different times. I'm not quite sure how recently or what how good we were, so to speak, at providing that information. But if we do get some comet data, it might be a good time to I'll give it a shot. We covered it a few weeks ago, but it was more of an impromptu session, so maybe a more detailed session would probably help out. That said, we've got 10:32. We're going to continue this next week. I think this will run into next week nicely. Please, guys, download the data right here, process it, share it on the Astro Imaging channel. Next week, maybe I'll go through the NGC 4565. This week was the M51. Terry shared his. Was that M77? Yes, it was. Terry shared his M77. I knew he had shot it, so that is out there. You can check him out on Astrobin or in our chat. You'll see the link. That said,
Adam, before you check out, there was a question last week, just as we were signing off, about Sequence Generator Pro. Can I take a second to answer that?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. Am I sharing my screen? No, I'm looking at you.
You're
You know, I'm sharing my screen. It just so happens that my screen was looking at you. I'm imaging right now in my backyard, taking a part of the California Nebula. And if you go to this, the Pam, I think it was, that asked the question, is if there is a way to set up Sequence Generator Pro so that it doesn't start till a certain time. And there sure is. You click one of these gear icons over here on the target list, and under the time constraints, you check either what altitude you want the rig to wait for before the star gets up, before the target gets up high enough to get to image, or you tell it what time you want it to start. And you can also tell it when to end in that same pane right there. I just wanted to catch that. Pam asked that right at the very end, just as we were signing off, and I don't know if she ever got it answered. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And I do want to show one more time. Where is the data? Go to the website homepage. I don't know. To our homepage right here. And right here. You're on the homepage. You can click Watch Live. It automatically scrolls down. Shared data. It's just a small link right there. If you click it, it brings you to my Google Drive folder. And there's 2 different pieces of data to process there.
Are we gonna work on this next week?
I think we're gonna continue this one in next week too. I have the other set of data in there.
Okay, so people should download that data, work it, and if they can, send it in to you somehow. So the same thing we did a while back with that other set of data.
Yep, submit it on the Astro Imaging channel's Image of the Week. You can put it in your staging area in Astrobin. You can post it in your public area on Astrobin if you want. I don't mind at all. Yeah, we'll just share our results and see who did a good job on it. Maybe someone got stuck on something and they really want to know how to work through it. Maybe someone did a great job on getting rid of some of that noise or background gradient, and I want to know how they did it. That said, thank you all for watching. We will be on next week. That's all I got for this week. Thanks again, guys. See you next week. Good night and clear skies.